It's time for our final speaker. And our final speaker today is the Assistant Director of the Virgin Islands Experimental Program to stimulate competitive research at the University of the Virgin Islands. He holds a master's degree in creativity and change leadership from Buffalo State. And in his spare time, he teaches creative thinking and creative problem solving to high school and university students. He has an interesting technique for raising orchids. Stay with me because this is a little complicated, so I'm going to try to bear it down here. With great precision, he asks them, how badly do you want to live? So in summary, for those of you following along, he knows nothing about orchids. Nonetheless, please welcome Nicholas Drayton.
Thank you. You know, as a trained Marine Protected Area Manager, I am becoming increasingly frustrated with our marine scientists because I think they're not asking the right questions, nor are they giving us the right answers that we need, solutions that we need in order to effectively manage and protect our coral reef systems. Now, understand that we need to know exactly what is necessary in order to protect our coral reef systems. And I'm watching our coral reef systems slip into oblivion. When I heard that the Great Barrier Reef of Australia was officially declared terminal, I felt like I was losing a relative. And the pain that I feel is actually even deeper because I believe that we have the creative tools to address some of these issues that appear to be quite daunting, but we're not using those tools. And so we continue to see the loss of our marine and coral reef systems decline around the globe. Now, I think I'd consider myself the quintessential island boy. I grew up along the sandy beaches of Barbados, and I spent hours on end enjoying the coral reef flora and fauna, plants and animals. And my love for the coral reefs wrote the script for my future as a protector of marine ecosystems across the Caribbean. But through a series of interesting academic, professional, and personal events in my life, I find myself moving more and more into the world of creativity. I've found a new passion, but I've never forgotten my first love. And like a true creative, Dorothy and Sarah, I'm constantly making connections, looking for those connections. And for me, the obvious connection is between marine science and creativity. Now, let me say that I understand and I acknowledge that marine scientists and scientists in general are creative. Good science by definition demands imagination and the ability to make those seemingly unrelated connections. But I think the time has come for a makeover in how we do our marine science. And part of that makeover is incorporating creativity into our marine research methods. At the University of the Virgin Islands, we've somewhat stumbled on at least one approach to bringing those two things together. Sophomore Boost is a summer program that was developed to assist students who are failing in doing a little better for the next semester. One aspect of Sophomore Boost is a creative thinking component, and I was asked to take the lead on designing and teaching that component. It's interesting that in the planning stages with my colleagues, they wanted the students to just use creativity in the context of we, the scientists, will give the students the ideas and they will develop them. And I thought, no, because that was an indication to me that the scientists didn't have the confidence that the students could come up with anything that would be novel or useful to them. But I believed in the power of the creative problem-solving tools, and I was adamant that the students should be allowed to come up with techniques, their own ideas, their own solutions for the researchers. I wish that I could stand here and tell you that after the students met with the researchers and the researchers presented their research and presented their research challenges, and that the students took those challenges, applied CPS tools, they came up with revolutionary ways of doing research that just changed the way our marine scientists are doing their work at the University of the Virgin Islands. But I can't do that. But what I can do is share with you a little bit about the reactions of the marine scientists to the work that the students did. So just quickly, one of the areas of challenge that the students were presented with was looking at unique ways or novel ways for tagging sea turtles. Another one was how to identify coral reefs, corals, and marine algae in the natural environment. Two of the researchers said to me they were pleasantly surprised with what the students came up with. The one who was in charge of the sea turtle research said, even though I'm not going to use the solution they came up with, they have opened my mind to considering new alternatives that I had never thought of before. The researcher who was responsible for the coral reef identification and marine algae identification told me he felt the students were onto something, and he wished that he could connect the students with the right expertise to help them take their idea to the next level. And then there was another researcher who was involved, and he said, Nick, I was blown away. I quote, he said, that whole experience for me was, and he struggled for a while, and then he said, it was a Cinderella story, both in terms of where those poor performers went from beginning to end in 5 weeks, but also personally for him in terms of his attitude towards creative problem solving at the beginning and what he saw at the end. That gives me a glimmer of hope for the future. I think our researchers can be taught, can be introduced to creative problem solving in ways that don't make them feel threatened. But if that's a glimmer of hope, I want to share with you for a moment a beam of a sense of urgency. I stand before you today as a recent survivor of 2 hurricanes, 2 Category 5 hurricanes within the space of 12 days. Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Here's Irma, there's Maria. Say hello, say goodbye. In fact, Hurricane Irma was a Category 6 hurricane. But the National Weather Service does not have a 6th category. Irma's wind speeds were in excess of 185 miles per hour. Okay? And the economic, emotional, and, yes, marine damage that these 2 hurricanes caused have exceeded anything in documented history. those two hurricanes, and I won't even try to talk about Hurricane Harvey in the Gulf of Mexico that occurred 2 weeks prior to these. The time has come for us to take creativity into the world of marine science research, into the world of environmental research. The future of this planet could lie in our hands. We have got to find what are all the ways that we can bring our marine scientists into the fold. My vision is to continue to expose both students and researchers to creative problem solving, to creative thinking. But I think it's the responsibility of all of us. You know, I think it was Mark Twain who said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one does anything about it. Let us, through our creativity, prove him wrong. Thank you.